Long ago, beyond the rolling sapphire seas and towering ice-tipped mountains, there existed a kingdom unlike any other. It was called Aurellia, the Golden Kingdom, named after the sunlight that always seemed to shine upon its high marble towers. The people of Aurellia lived in peace, protected by strong walls and guided by the wisdom of their rulers King Adrian Valerius and Queen Seraphina. King Adrian was known as a brave and noble ruler. With broad shoulders, a strong gaze, and a heart committed to justice, he earned the respect of his kingdom. He was a warrior king, fearless in battle, yet patient and gentle in leadership. His voice could calm storms, and his courage inspired hope in every person who lived under his rule. Queen Seraphina, on the other hand, was adored for her grace and kindness. With hair like strands of gold and eyes as blue as a summer sky, she was the symbol of elegance. But beyond her beauty, she possessed a heart full of compassion. She visited orphanages, sat with the elderly, and walked among her people, listening to their stories and worries. Many believed she was blessed by the ancient spirits of light, for flowers seemed to bloom wherever she passed. Together, they ruled Aurellia with fairness and love. The land flourished, rivers glistened like silver. The forests were rich and green, and markets overflowed with fruit and music. Every year, the kingdom celebrated a grand festival called the Day of Crowns, honoring the unity between the royal family and the people. But behind the beauty and prosperity, a secret shadow rested in the heart of the kingdom. Far to the north, beyond the enchanted forest and hidden under layers of mist, lay a land known as Nocturnia. It was a place where sunlight rarely reached and where dark magic was whispering to rise again. For centuries, Nocturnia had been ruled by jealous sorcerers, always dreaming of conquering Aurellia and claiming its golden throne. For many years, peace held strong, protected by ancient treaties, but recently, unsettling signs began to appear: strange storms that struck without warning, birds falling silent in the sky, and rumors of dark creatures moving in the night. King Adrian grew troubled. Each day he spent longer hours in the war council chamber, studying maps and seeking answers. Queen Seraphina noticed the growing fear in her husband's eyes. One evening, after a long council meeting, she gently touched his hand and asked, "My love, what weighs so heavily upon your heart?" Adrian looked out the tall window toward the horizon where the sun was setting. "The winds are changing, Seraphina. I feel a storm coming. Something dark is rising, and I fear it seeks our kingdom. We must be prepared." Seraphina held his hand firmly. "Whatever comes, we will face it together. Aurellia stands strongest when united." Little did they know, a messenger was already traveling under the cover of night, carrying news that would change the fate of Aurellia forever. The night sky over Aurellia was unusually quiet. Not a single star shimmered, and the air carried a strange heaviness. Deep within the castle walls, torches crackled softly, illuminating the long stone corridors. The guards stood watch with tense eyes, sensing something was not right. Just past midnight, the great doors of the castle burst open. A lone rider entered the courtyard with a horse covered in mud and sweat. The rider's cloak was torn, and his chest rose and fell with strained breaths. Before the guards could speak, the rider collapsed to the ground. "Call the king," one guard shouted. Within moments, King Adrian and Queen Seraphina stood in the castle hall as the rider struggled to his feet. His voice trembled with urgency. "Your Majesties, forgive my intrusion. I bring grave news." He removed the hood of his cloak, revealing the crest of Ebonridge, a village near the border of Nocturnia. King Adrian stepped forward. "Speak, soldier, what has happened?" The messenger swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "Nocturnia has broken the ancient treaty. Their leader, the dark sorcerer, Lord Malachor, has risen again. He commands an army of shadow beasts, creatures of darkness and fire. They attacked our village without warning. Ebonridge has fallen, and they are marching toward Aurellia." Gasps spread through the hall. The queen's eyes widened, but she remained calm, placing a gentle hand over her heart. "How many survivors?" she asked softly. "Very few," my queen, the messenger answered, tears streaming down his face. I rode here as fast as I could to warn you. They will not stop until Aurellia burns. King Adrian clenched his fists. Prepare the defenses. Alert every commander. We ride at dawn. The messenger sank to one knee. Please, your majesty. Malachar himself was seen on the battlefield. He commands powers beyond anything I've witnessed. You must be cautious. Queen Seraphina approached the trembling man and knelt beside him. She lifted his chin with kindness. You have done a brave and noble thing. Rest now. You are safe here. The hall fell quiet again. When the guards carried the messenger away, Seraphina turned to her husband with deep concern. Adrian, do you think we can truly win this war? The king placed his hands on her shoulders and looked into her eyes. I do not know, he admitted honestly. But I will fight until my last breath to protect our people. Seraphina felt her heart ache. She knew the costs of war. She had seen too many lives shattered, too many children left without parents. She feared losing the man she loved more than anything in the world. As the moon slowly disappeared behind a blanket of dark clouds, the castle bells rang out across the kingdom. Soldiers rushed through the streets. Blacksmiths hammered armor. Horses stamped in the stables. The people gathered in anxious silence. War was coming, and in the shadows of the distant forest, unseen by anyone in Aurellia, two glowing red eyes watched with an endless hunger for destruction. The sun barely rose the next morning. Thick gray clouds covered the sky, and a cold wind swept across the kingdom as if warning of the danger ahead. King Adrian stood in the training courtyard dressed in full armor-polished steel, engraved with the royal symbols of Aurellia. His crimson cape billowed behind him, and his golden crown glowed faintly beneath the dull light. Around him, hundreds of soldiers prepared for war. Bows were strewn, swords sharpened, and shields aligned in rows. The clattering of metal echoed through the air, mixing with the trembling heartbeat of the kingdom. Every man and woman knew the weight of the day. General Rowan, Adrian's oldest friend and most trusted commander, approached with a solemn expression. Your Majesty, the army is ready. The scouts report that Malachar's forces have crossed the river of Blackstone. They will reach the border within hours. Adrian nodded. We will ride to meet them. Aurellia does not wait behind walls. At those words, a loud cheer erupted among the soldiers, their voices strong with loyalty even in the face of fear. Meanwhile, Queen Seraphina prepared in her own way. She moved through the castle's healing chambers, blessing bandages and mixing herbs for the wounded she anticipated. Though she was not a warrior of steel, she carried a strength far greater hope. She believed that even in the darkest nights, light could still rise. As she worked, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to find Princess Ilara, the young heir to the throne, watching her with wide, worried eyes. Though still only 17, Ilara had inherited both her father's courage and her mother's compassion. Mother, Ilara whispered, is father going to be safe? Seraphina hesitated, choosing her words carefully. She cupped Ilara's cheek. Your father fights for love, not power. That is a strength even darkness struggles to defeat. We must believe in him, and we must be strong here at home. Ilara nodded and embraced her mother tightly. Moments later, Seraphina walked out to the castle courtyard. She found the king already mounted on his horse, armor gleaming. The soldiers stood behind him in formation, an unbreakable wall of loyalty. Adrian dismounted and walked toward her, taking her hands gently. I will return to you, he promised softly, though fear flickered in his eyes. Seraphina blinked back tears. And I will be waiting here, guiding our people, and praying for your victory. She removed a delicate silver necklace from her neck and placed it in his hand. A brilliant blue crystal glowed at its center. This stone is blessed with ancient light. Keep it close. It may protect you when all else fails. Adrian slipped it under his armor. Your light has always protected me. Their lips touched in a tender kiss, brief but filled with unspoken words. Then, with a commanding voice that echoed through the kingdom, Adrian lifted his sword high. For The army roared in response. Hail the Golden Kingdom! With thunderous hooves, the soldiers charged forward, racing toward destiny. Seraphina watched until they disappeared into the thick mist beyond the gates. Deep within that mist, something moved on, unnatural chill sweeping over the land. The war had begun. The battlefield stretched across the plains of Blackstone, a vast open land that once bloomed with wildflowers. Now, it shivered under the bitter breath of approaching darkness. Heavy fog coiled around the soldiers' legs as they marched, and the sky above churned like a storm ready to strike. King Adrian signaled his troops to halt. The ground trembled beneath their feet. A deep, rumbling sound echoed across the field like thunder, but darker, heavier, filled with rage. General Rowan gripped his sword. They're coming. Suddenly, the fog tore open like a ripped curtain, and from within emerged an army unlike anything the soldiers of Aurellia had ever seen. Towering beasts with burning red eyes, their skin black as coal, moved forward in snarling packs. Behind them marched warriors, clad in jagged armor, forged from obsidian. At the center, cloaked in swirling darkness, floated Lord Malachor himself. His eyes glowed with a poisonous violet light, and his voice cracked like breaking stone as he spread his skeletal arms wide. Bow before me, King Adrian, he hissed, and I will spare your people from suffering. Adrian rode forward, refusing to show fear. Aurellia bows to no darkness. We stand for light, for hope, for peace. Turn back while you still can. Malachor's laugh was cold and hollow. Hope is the weakest illusion of all. He lifted his staff, its tip burning with purple flames, and the ground exploded beneath Adrian's army. The battle ignited instantly. Arrows flew through the air. Steel clashed against twisted black blades. Horses reared and screamed. Soldiers shouted, fighting with every ounce of strength they had. The sky seemed to darken further as Malachor summoned bolts of shadow lightning, striking down warriors in flashes of blinding light. Adrian swung his sword, cutting through two armored beasts. He moved with powerful precision, but each step became harder as the ground cracked and smoke stung his eyes. Beside him, General Rowan fought fiercely, but even his strength began to waver under the endless wave of monsters. Then, without warning, a colossal creature emerged, 10 feet tall, with horns like jagged spears. It slammed Rowan against the ground, knocking the sword from his hand. "Rowan!" Adrian shouted. The beast raised its massive claw to strike. Without hesitation, Adrian threw himself forward, driving his blade deep into the creature's chest. It roared in agony and collapsed, but the force shattered Adrian's shield and sent him crashing into the dirt. Blood ran down his forehead as he struggled to rise. Around him, Aurelia's soldiers were being pushed back. The air crackled with Malachor's dark magic. The sorcerer floated toward him, smirking. "You will fall today, King of Light." Adrian reached beneath his armor and felt the glowing crystal necklace Queen Seraphina had given him. It pulsed with warmth, filling him with renewed strength. He clenched it tightly, and a burst of brilliant blue light erupted around him, forcing Malachor to recoil with a furious scream. Far away in the castle, Seraphina gasped as she felt the surge of magic through her heart. She clutched her chest. "Ilara, something is happening. Your father needs us." As the battle raged on, shadows closed in, and the light fought to break through. The fate of Aurellia hung in a breathless balance, and the outcome remained uncertain. The war was far from over. Queen Seraphina stood at the highest tower of the castle, the wind whipping through her golden hair as she gripped the stone balcony. She could feel Adrian's energy through the crystal that once hung around her neck. The magic was weakening. He was in danger. "We can't just wait here," Princess Ilara said urgently. "Father needs us. The kingdom needs us. We must act." Seraphina looked into her daughter's determined eyes and nodded. "You are right. The kingdom stands not only by sword, but by spirit. Come with me." She led Ilara to the sacred chamber hidden beneath the castle. Inside was an ancient relic glowing softly, a crystal staff of pure white light, guarded for centuries. It was said to hold the power of the first queens of Aurellia, capable of driving away darkness if wielded by a heart truly pure. Seraphina placed her hands upon it. The crystal flared with brilliant radiance, surrounding her in a halo of shimmering warmth. Alara stepped forward, adding her strength, and the light grew brighter, pulsing like the heartbeat of the kingdom itself. For Aurellia, they whispered together. On the battlefield, the war had reached its breaking point. Bodies lay scattered, and smoke choked the air. The soldiers of Aurellia fought fiercely but were exhausted and wounded. Malachor raised his staff, gathering a storm of dark energy that spiraled violently above him. This day marks the end of the Golden Kingdom, he roared. King Adrian, barely able to stand, lifted his sword toward the sky. As long as one heart in Aurellia still beats, we will never fall. Malachor unleashed a massive blast of shadow straight toward the king. But at that exact instant, a beam of radiant white light shot across the skies like a burning comet, striking the earth between them. The ground trembled. Wind roared. A blinding wave of light spread outward, forcing every shadow creature to scream and disintegrate into ash. Standing in the center of the radiant glow were Queen Seraphina and Princess Aurellia, the sacred staff blazing in their hands. Their eyes shone with fierce determination. "Begone, creature of darkness," Seraphina commanded. "You will not destroy our home." Malachor shrieked as the light wrapped around him, stripping away his power. He fought desperately, but the staff's magic, fueled by love and unity, was unstoppable. With a final burst of brilliance, Malachor was consumed by the light, his scream echoing into silence as he faded into nothingness. The battlefield fell quiet. The soldiers stared in awe as sunlight pierced through the clouds for the first time in days. Queen Seraphina ran to Adrian, falling to her knees beside him. Tears filled her eyes. "Adrian, my love." He looked up weakly, a tired smile on his face. "You saved us all. As you always do." Seraphina pressed her forehead to his. "We saved Aurellia together." Alara knelt beside them, and the king placed a trembling hand on her shoulder. "You will be a great queen one day. You have the heart of both your parents." The soldiers raised their swords high, shouting triumphantly. Victory for Aurellia. For days, the kingdom celebrated their survival. The land healed, the people rejoiced, and peace returned once more. The king and queen stood side by side on their balcony, watching the sunrise cast golden light over their beloved kingdom. They knew challenges would come again, but they also knew one truth: light always rises. Love always wins. And together, they were unbreakable.